Introduction to Azure Synapse Serverless Query. Azure Synapse Serverless Query is a powerful tool that allows you to analyze and query data from various sources without having to provision or manage infrastructure. In this guide, we will explore the key concepts and best practices for using Azure Synapse Serverless Query. Getting started. To get started with Azure Synapse Serverless Query, you need to create an Azure Synapse workspace and a serverless SQL pool. The workspace is the top-level resource for Azure Synapse, and the SQL pool is where you will execute your queries. Key concepts. There are several key concepts to understand when using Azure Synapse Serverless Query. The first is the concept of a lake database, which is a database that is used to store and manage data in a data lake. You can create a lake database in your SQL pool and then use it to query data from various sources. Querying data. To query data in Azure Synapse Serverless Query, you can use standard SQL syntax. You can query data from various sources such as Azure Data Lake Storage and Azure Blob Storage. You can also use various query features such as filtering and grouping to analyze your data. Practical example. For example, suppose you have a CSV file in Azure Data Lake Storage that contains sales data. You can use Azure Synapse Serverless Query to query this data and calculate the total sales for each region. You can use the following SQL query to do this: select region sum sales from sales data group by region. Best practices. There are several best practices to keep in mind when using Azure Synapse Serverless Query. The first is to optimize your queries to minimize cost. Azure Synapse Serverless Query charges based on the amount of data processed, so optimizing your queries can help reduce costs. You can also use various features such as query folding and predicate pushdown to optimize your queries. Conclusion. In conclusion, Azure Synapse Serverless Query is a powerful tool that allows you to analyze and query data from various sources without having to provision or manage infrastructure. By following the key concepts and best practices outlined in this guide, you can get started with using Azure Synapse Serverless Query and start analyzing your data today.